This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Hello! You found us! Welcome! You've made your way here. It is in fact here. This is Party Loaded. It's episode 196. And you found yourself in the company of people chatting about everything great in the world of video games. My name is Luke Ritalik, and joining me tonight we have back behind the mic, back from last week, we have Christian Paulson Brown. Hello, Christian. What's going on?
Hello. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. I'm very, very good. We're also joined by back from the other side of the country, we have Adrian Chia. Welcome back, Adrian. What's going on?
Good evening, reptile listeners.
Okay. We're going to circle around to that in a second. And also, finally, rounding out the full crew tonight, we have back from the very brink of death, Matt Diet. You may also know him as the Game Dad. Welcome back, Matt. What's going on?
Yes, I'm the reptile speaker on the podcast.
He speaks for us.
Adrian, what the fuck? Reptile listeners?
Yes. I came back from Tasmania a changed man.
Okay.
A lizard man?
Yes, I went to the top of the mountain and returned changed forever.
Okay, interesting.
Cool. It's all part of the reptoid conspiracy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Some Area 51
but we don't talk
shit
about that.
going down here. Oh, man. So, Matt's you got your voice back. That's good news. So,
Yes, I recovered from the 20 packs a day that I had apparently been smoking for my entire life and decided to just come out last week. I had
do you know what's
completely
funny?
lost my
As you
voice.
say 20 packs a day, I'm thinking to myself like an entire PAX convention packed into
That's
one day and 20
exactly
hours.
what I thought.
Which would also
Yes.
ruin your voice. Don't
Such
get me
fucking
wrong.
nerds.
It would. Like, setting packs on fire and then breathing the fumes would just completely fuck you up.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah. And kind of appropriate too, because that thing is 15 days away for us. So, yeah.
Yeah. Not far now.
Coming
15
up.
days.
15
That's almost
days.
14 days.
Yeah. Which is
Just about to make the exact same joke.
Oh, perfect.
Dear.
All right. Well, anyway, many days to come. But before we get to those days, let's chat about recent days, and let's chat about recent days of gaming. So, Matt, you're back. You've had some time to hopefully play some stuff while you've been gone. Let's start with you tonight. What have you been doing in the last week or two? What's on the game?
So I've been... way to spoil it.
Hang on. Let me lead up this one again. Matt, what have you had time to have a gander at the last couple of weeks?
Oh my god. Yeah. So I've actually played a couple of different games, none of which I am actually prepared to talk about, except for this one game that goes untitled, but really should be called Metal Goose Solid. But yeah, I played Untitled Goose Game, which is really short, but fucking brilliant, because you're a goose and you're an asshole, and that's all you need to know. That's basically the game.
Nice.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Review.
Yeah,
10 stars.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. 11 out of 10.
Nice.
Yeah, it's freaking brilliant. It's super straightforward, and it's basically when I say Metal Goose Solid, like, as much of a joke as that is, it's also entirely accurate. It is a stealth like puzzle game.
Oh, okay.
So you're basically running around trying to steal objects and basically just trolling this town of people in very goosely ways. That you have controls to honk at them, you have controls to flap your wings at them. And so you can just kind of run around flapping your wings and honking, and it's just brilliant. It's hilarious.
So the controls are the controls really tight, or is it a bit more loosey goosey?
Oh, God.
I got pages of these. Come on, just
It's the only reason this game exists is to look and make terrible puns about it.
But yeah,
Secretly funded by Luke Incorporated.
It's all about basically just being a jerk to these townspeople, and it's one of those things where, like, when I used to play role-playing games, and you would make decisions to be like a bad person. I hated doing that in back when I used to play those sort of games. But it's so much fun to be an asshole.
It's so like charming and ultimately harmless, right? It's just like
That's totally how I see myself every day.
I wouldn't say you're charming. I'm not sure about harmless either.
You do walk around honking a lot.
Yeah, you do walk around honking a lot. Yeah, because you're just being a goose, right? And like geese are jerks. And so everything you're doing is just they are devil birds, exactly right. My only issue with the game is that not enough people are terrified of you. So that's clearly inaccurate.
Oh, speaking of which, I saw a picture today that totally summed up the terrifying part of geese. Have you seen that thing with the geese tongues? Like how they've got teeth on their tongues? What the shit is that?
It's like covered in like spiky needle things.
Yeah, I had no idea. Like, apparently they can tear strips of flesh off things, like, with that stuff. So,
oh my God, they're like lickers.
Yeah, exactly like that. They're horrifying.
But probably my favorite part of Goose Game is the ending. I'm not going to spoil it because it's so fucking good. But yeah, there's this whole narrative going on in the background of this game. The fact that Untitled Goose Game has a story and you kind of feel it out by seeing things in the game world. It's super good. Like it's a chef's kiss good game.
Yeah.
Nice.
High praise.
Yeah. On the title screen, does it actually have just Goose Game in text, or does it actually say the word Untitled as well?
It says Untitled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. It is a nameless game called Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah. I don't know. It's become the most meme-worthy, like, awesome release this year. I think it's fantastic. Yeah.
It's very, very giftable game.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many. One of my favorite gifts is just like you can find a harmonica, and whenever you're holding something as the goose, if you honk, you kind of make a muffled sound. But when you're holding the harmonica, when you honk, you blow through the harmonica as well. So it's like a half honk, half harmonica whistle, and it's adorable and hilarious. Because you run around doing that, flapping your wings at people, and they freak out.
Oh man!
What's the objective? Does it drive you from like area to area, telling you to do things, or
you have a to-do list of asshole things that you need to do to the townspeople, and like the first area you're in, you're basically harassing this gardener, and by doing enough of the things, there comes a point where he goes and erects like a no geese sign. And you have to go over and honk at him while he's trying to hammer it into the ground, which makes him hammer his thumb. And he falls into a fence and knocks it over, which lets you get to the next area.
I don't know if I condone actually injuring people as the goose.
Oh, you're not injuring them. He's injuring himself. It's fine.
But you caused that injury.
Did you, though?
I thought it was meant to be harmless.
All you did was honk, Adrian.
I don't know if I can endorse this.
Okay.
Do not buy.
Yeah, I'm
pushing the big red button.
Jesus.
1 star.
All right. Well, Adrian, what's more than 1 star? What do you got to bring to the table today?
I guess you could give Link's Awakening more than 1 star.
That seems reasonable.
I suppose. Yeah. So, with my trip to Tasmania, I was obviously looking for something to play on the plane, and I did consider the game Christian was playing. What's it called
Astral
again?
Chain.
Astral Chain. I did consider Astral Chain, but I was advised by Mr. Paulson Brown himself that it may not be the best pick to play on a small screen initially on a flight.
Yeah, so tough game to learn. Tough game to learn on a flight.
Yeah, fair enough. And I mean, the trip to Tasmania consists of 2 small. Sorry, not too small. Like 1 3-hour flight and then a 1-hour flight. So something more kind of isometric and portable would have been ideal. So I decided to pick up Link's Awakening. I mentioned previously that I sort of remember reading about this game as a child from like a Nintendo magazine and being, always wishing I could play it. Turns out I was wrong. That's not the one I'm thinking of. I must be thinking of some Zelda game that was on the Super Nintendo.
Link to the Past, then?
Link to the Past? Maybe I'm thinking of Link to the Past, actually. But anyway, this is still good. So, Link's Awakening is a remake of the Game Boy Color game Link's Awakening. And it's very pretty. It's got a kind of Yoshi's Crafted World kind of vibe to it, where the the graphics are sort of 3D, but so 3D to the point that they look almost like claymation or like 3D. You know what it is? Everything looks like Fisher Price toys, or like those little like firemen and policemen where it's just like a bobblehead looking thing. The whole world is that kind of aesthetic. So it's very pleasing to look at. It oozes charm.
It's got the 3D kind of perspective when you tilt it, doesn't it? Like how you can see the layers. Is that sort of how it looks?
Yeah, as in isometric, as in like
kind
from
of.
an angle.
Yeah,
above.
I think you're talking about the tilt shift photography, like how it blurs the top and the bottom of the screen.
Exactly, it's like
to make
Octopath
things look
Traveler
like miniatures.
in that regard.
Yeah, right. It does do that blurring. I actually don't like the blur. I was actually looking for an option to turn it off, because it's as if like it doesn't feel like an artistic embellishment to me. It just feels like it's blurring the edge of the screen where I want to see stuff. Like, because as you're maneuvering around the map, things are still happening in that zone that's blurred, and you see it there and you want to look at it, but it's blurred and you're like, I wish that wasn't the case. So I prefer if it didn't have that. It's kind of like when you have games that have like a patina effect or like a blurred motion effect when you turn.
I hate motion blur so much.
Yeah, it's kind of like motion blur. I don't find it very flattering. It's kind of annoying. So the game is great, and I mean, I won't go into it being a good game because I think it's pretty par for the course that people think Zelda games are good. Instead, I'd like to rag on it a bit, as is my want and my right as a consumer.
Honk.
You son of a bitch. Sorry, that honk just got me thinking of like this person in high school who we used to honk at, and it was terrible looking back on it. It's probably one of the meanest things you can do to a person, is just honk at them. But I remember doing it in high school a lot to this particular girl. We used to go and like honk at her. Now I feel bad about it. Anyway.
Only now.
Yeah.
Only now.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it now.
Yeah. It sounds like you've had a bit of an awakening linking back to that.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. Sorry, listeners. Sorry for that little trick there. Link's Awakening. So the biggest problem with the game is it has frame rate issues. And I did a little bit of Googling, a little bit of researching while I was away to see if there was a fix for it. There kind of is and isn't, but mostly there isn't. And it turns out it happens whenever the game has to access internal memory. And all that really translates into is when you're playing the game, anytime you enter a new area, the frame rate drops. So it's normally 60 frames. Once you transition from one screen to the next, the game will dip for about 3 or 4 seconds. So it's long enough that it will impact on your gameplay, and it does break your immersion. If you're focused enough, you can ignore it. But I haven't at any point while playing the game gotten to the point where I could completely forget that it's happening, and it's consistent and happens all the time. And for some people, it won't matter. For me, I'm a bit of a frame rate freak, and it really annoys me. So I've managed to play it anyway because I needed something to do on the plane, and I wasn't just going to stare at the back of the seat in front of me for the whole flight. So that was still preferable. But that was an issue, and I think it may be enough to turn people off. So if anyone is thinking of buying Link's Awakening, I would wait to see if they patch it out. Maybe there'll be something that they'll release that you can download to fix the issue. If you're super keen, then go ahead and get it.
If it's performance related, have you tried docked to see if that makes a difference?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't seem to make a difference. And the somewhat fix that I found online is that if you manage to download the game onto an internal memory, it can help a bit. But apparently, it still doesn't fully fix the issue.
Huh.
And I tried to do that, and you can't do it without an SD card. I don't think.
Yeah.
So So I didn't have that option. And the other gripe about the game is that it's too easy, but I guess that's because it's a Game Boy Color game. It's not super complicated, and the dungeons aren't very they don't take a lot of brain power to work out, and they're not as interesting and quirky as Zelda games that have come since. But like I say, you have to kind of take into account that it was a remake of a Game Boy Color game. So, what are you going to do?
There's definitely a big difference in difficulty between some of the Zeldas. Link to the Past is super easy, I think. But compared to I mean, Breath of the Wild kind of has a lot of easy spots as well. Original Legend of Zelda, though, is quite tough, I think, comparatively to a lot of the others. So
yeah, I think the original Legend of Zelda is tough because there's no hand holding, there's no direction. It was back in the days where, like, in the original Zelda, there are areas of the game where you need to, in order to progress the game, you need to bomb like random spots on the map that have zero hint that they're bombable. Like, so the only way you would ever figure that out is through trial and error across the entire map, or by reading about it or having someone tell you about it. This game at least, will indicate that there's a bombable area by showing a crack in the wall or something like that. So it's not quite as brutal as like the old NES Zelda. It's just very simple, but I mean, maybe that goes hand in hand with the aesthetic and the sort of charm it's going for. So still worth getting. Maybe not at full price. I would recommend maybe waiting for it to come down a bit if it does. But yeah,
Nintendo games and price drops.
I know. Yeah, good point. But yeah, that's it. Link's Awakening is fine.
Nice.
It's fine.
Yeah. I look forward to playing it at some point. I do have a couple other Zelda games that I should get through first, though. I haven't finished Ocarina on Game Boy yet, so... Game Boy. On DS, I should say. Game Boy, Jesus.
Original Game Boy.
I know. It's
You're showing your age, Luke, by calling everything a Game Boy.
I know. That's bad. It's one of the things I greatly regret actually selling during my teenage years. Like, I wish I had kept my original Game Boy. That thing was fantastic. Yeah. Anyway... What I have been playing instead, though, is a whole bunch more Borderlands 3. So, I'm still having the ongoing issue of finding that I'm going to play Borderlands and then accidentally end up loading Destiny, but that's just a whole other thing entirely. And that's going to get entirely worse next week, too. So, yeah. But in the meantime, I have played a whole bunch of Borderlands 3 this week, and I have been... I'm enjoying it. Like, I think that the best way I can summarize this game is it is good, but it's not fantastic. I think it's just good. Like... on the upper end of good. Like, I do enjoy it quite a bit, but it's I mean, the fact that I've gone from a game that I love the shit out of directly into playing this, I think has done it a disservice as well, because I'm directly kind of comparing those two experiences, and obviously Borderlands comes off a bit second best in that comparison, but yeah, it's been fun. Like, the interesting thing I'm finding about it, though, is that the play experience when you're playing co-op, in terms of the game design, is very, very different to the solo experience. Like, the solo experience in some ways I actually think is better, because I think that some of the balancing they've done with the game actually matches the solo experience quite well. But as soon as you play co-op, like, yes, it's a lot more fun because you're having fun sort of running around and gunning things down with friends, but it just kills the difficulty of the game. Like, it just wipes it off completely, and you're just running around just annihilating everything. Which is fine, because that's fun, but it just throws the balance right out the window. So, and this was massively evident with one particular boss that I fought. Like, this game does an interesting thing where some of the side missions actually are a lot bigger than others. And I did this one particular side mission which involved it was almost like you were taking part in like a battle royale style game show, where you had to sort of go and fight these bosses in an arena. And, once you'd won the contest, you got to go and sort of meet the big boss and then ultimately fight him. But as a side mission, it was so huge that I thought, surely this should just be part of the main game. Like, this is way too big for a side mission. And the boss fight was actually the most challenging boss fight that I'd had all game so far. And I thought to myself, this just seems like it should be part of the core sort of story. It didn't make sense to be on the side because you could easily miss it. But I was having a massively hard time fighting this dude because he's like, his name's Kilovolt, and he's basically like an electricity themed boss that has like a massive shield in front of him and a huge sort of electrical pack that he fires up and kind of puts shocking electricity on the floor that you fight him on. So you actually have to run around and jump on different sort of tiles so that you're not getting zapped by the floor while you're trying to shoot him. And it's a bit of a jumping puzzle as well as a bullet hell style sort of encounter. But the hardest thing is that he's always got his shield up and you just can't engage him properly from the front until he lowers it, which is very hard to do when you're bouncing around on the floor. But as you can imagine, as soon as you enter one other player into that scenario and you've got someone that can get around to the back of him and actually shoot him from behind, it just changes the whole dynamic of the boss fight and you can take him down like in no time flat. So fantastic design when it's a solo experience, like completely wasted design when there's more than one person. So yeah, but I don't know. I think it's just an interesting thing. The game's still really fun. As a loot shooter, I do enjoy it to a certain extent, but I think it can get super broken with some of the combos later on, to the point where the game's just not as challenging as it could be. But I guess that's part of the fun. If that's kind of what you go into Borderlands expecting, I guess you'll be satisfied. So yeah, I don't know.
How do you think it compares to Rage 2?
Rage 2, I think from a story perspective, I prefer Rage. Not that it's, way ahead in terms of having like a fantastic story, because its story is pretty basic, but I think Rage 2 is a bit more of a curated experience, whereas Borderlands is kind of, more random sort of, overpowered fun, especially later on, if that makes sense. Okay. So Rage 2 is definitely not a looter shooter. It's more of it's more of like a Wolfenstein style experience where you get enough equipment to kind of, make your way through the game, and you do get some weird and wacky powers later on, but you never feel like you're kind of overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that you have to choose from, or the pickups and things like that. Like you're often sort of starved for resources rather than finding them in abundance. Whereas in Borderlands, like certain playstyles, you definitely just have stuff raining down on you in terms of resources, so you don't have to think twice about it. So yeah, very different contrast, despite the worlds having some similarities, if that makes sense. So
yeah, because that's kind of the world does seem quite similar. And then there was also is it Far Cry New Dawn, the post-apocalypse one? That kind of had a similar vibe to it as well, the kind of zany post-apocalypse. But
not having played that, I suspect that that's probably closer to Rage 2 than it is to Borderlands.
Yeah.
Borderlands is its own beast entirely, I think. And I think the only thing it's probably similar to would be the other Borderlands games, really. So yeah, but no, it's a good time. I'm definitely going to try and finish it this week though, so that I've got my week cleared for next week's release of Shadowkeep, because as soon as that comes out, then I'll be back on the Destiny train pretty fucking hard, I think. So yeah, but
it's really interesting listening to you, Luke, talking about Borderlands 3, because like you get so hyped about things that like decent games, you're pretty hyped about, and then like really shit games you get really angry about. It's like they're just the spectrum's like this much wider,
and I very rarely fall in the middle.
Yeah, and here you are basically saying, yeah, it's a good game, and I'm like, wow, I'm definitely not playing it then. It sounds shit.
I was thinking the same thing. Where Luke's like, oh, that's a good game. I'm like, this game must be trash.
No, exactly. It's not trash, and I can't bring myself to trash it because it's not trash. It is actually a genuinely good game. It's just
One star.
Yeah, the weird thing this year, I think 2019 in gaming has been a surprising year, because some of the stuff that I maybe didn't expect to be like overwhelmingly great has turned out to be fucking amazing, and there's some stuff that I was hoping would be a lot better than it was that's turned out to be pretty below average. But like there hasn't been a lot of in between for me. Like it's been a weird year, and I think that the way I feel about Borderlands 3 is maybe a product of how 2019 has kind of gone so far. So yeah, but anyway, that's where I land on it.
I actually have a list of games that I've been keeping track of. That it's like, how did I, games that I'd be talking about at the end of the year as my Game of the Year games. And all of them are indies. Like, there's nothing AAA that's really blown me away this year. So, yeah.
Year's not over yet, Matt.
Well, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, what's been happening with you, Christian? What's on the... You were posting a poll during the week of some new ideas to play. How did that turn out?
Yeah, so I finished off my playthrough of Resident Evil 2. I did Leon then Claire, and then called it a day. That game's definitely a Game of the Year contender for me.
Oh, yeah.
And then I was looking for something else to play, and before any of the big releases that I'm interested in are out, I wanted to polish off a back catalogue game, like a pile of shame game. So I did a little poll with Yakuza 0, Red Dead 2, and Horizon Zero Dawn on it, and Horizon won. So I did start playing Horizon Zero Dawn, but I'm like literally just sort of baby steps into that game. Like I basically still going through the tutorial, so I'm not really ready to talk about that yet. But I did play through a little indie game that I had heard some chatter about online called Sayonara Wild Hearts. So Sayonara Wild Hearts is hard to explain because it's self-described as a pop album video game. So it's essentially like an album of music with a video game to accompany it. It's only like an hour long because it's an album, and the music is like this sort of pop electro, kind of somewhat 80s-ish. It's a little bit like Churches, if anyone knows Churches, but with some more 80s in it, a bit heavier on the synth. The team that made it is just like two Swedish guys. Like it's a tiny studio, and the gameplay is kind of like an on-rails shooter / rhythm game. So they describe it, I'll just read from the website here. It says, Sayonara Wild Hearts is a dreamy arcade game about riding motorcycles, skateboarding, dance battling, shooting lasers, wielding swords, and breaking hearts at 200 miles an hour.
Is that all?
Yeah. But it's like this, it's this really fast-paced rail shooter rhythm game with like this neon purple 80s aesthetic. Everything, and the graphics are kind of very angular and polygonal and stylized, and you're like on the fly rapidly switching between sort of subgenres. So like one moment you're skating down a hill on a skateboard chasing after someone, and then you jump onto a motorcycle and you're like weaving through city streets, and then the ground opens up into a chasm and you're like superhero flying through the chasm, and then like it's always changing what's happening on the fly, and you're kind of just the only controls are moving around with one thumbstick and then pressing the A button for like rhythm QuickTime events, so like tapping in to the beat or at key moments. So it's very simple controls. There's like hearts that are like strewn along the path that you're having to sort of navigate and like weave between different lanes and fly up and down to gather the hearts as you fly along. And one thing I really liked about it is it's really kind of charming. It's almost like got a weird love story to it. It's about a girl who has like a broken heart, and then like this magic fairy comes into her room and like takes her, kind of like Peter Pan-ish, takes her on like this adventure, but it's this adventure to this weird 80s neon landscape. And I think and there's like a cast of kind of villains, and I think the villains are supposed to represent like her ex-girlfriends. Yeah. And they all wear like the characters.
Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. The characters dress kind of like this Japanese Sentai style, kind of like Sailor Moonish. There's a lot of like Sailor Moonish kind of transformations that the characters go through, and all like Wonderful 101. If anyone knows that weird Wii U game where all the characters have these angular black masks, but it's like super charming, and it's kind of like her going through like dealing with her heartbreak or like her troubled love life in this weird way. It's narrated by Queen Latifah, which is weird, but cool.
It's interesting.
Yeah, and like it's also got a bit of like rockabilly to it too. Like these characters, they're also wearing like varsity jackets, and they like ride motorcycles, like 50s motorcycles. It's really weird to describe. Watch a video of it online. Just look up like Sayonara Wild Hearts like gameplay and just see what it's about. It's the kind of game though that, because it is a pop album video game, if you don't like the music or you don't like the really striking aesthetic, then there's no way you're going to like the game, because it is all about the aesthetic and the music. So the gameplay is very minimal, but if you dig the music, check it out. It's not expensive. It's on Switch, PS4, and Apple Arcade. I think it was like $15, and it's worth a look if you like the music for sure. Very
cool. Yeah, I did see some chatter about this being on Apple Arcade during the week. I've been meaning to check that out actually, but my understanding is that's not phone available yet. It's only iPad, or maybe that's gone live on phones now. I'm not sure.
No idea.
Yeah, there seems to be a bunch of good stuff on that, but yeah, cool. I don't know. Sounds fun. I might check that out. But
yeah, it's worth a look just so you can fully understand it, dear listeners. Just look at a quick video.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, take a look at that, and we'll take a look at some news.
Now it's time to hear some gaming news. Time for some gaming news.
Yes, news time. So just early this morning in the wee hours of today, Sony had their State of Play. So it's kind of like their Nintendo Direct-esque thing they've done a few times.
You're saying the wee hours, but this is actually probably one of the more acceptable time slots for us in a while for one of these things. So
what was it? I didn't actually watch it live. What time was it?
I'm pretty sure it was 9 a.m. for us, which is totally fine. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's not an
It's also not Wii hours. What are you talking
PlayStation
about? 4
PlayStation hours, that's
Jesus,
right.
come on. Why did I miss that
deserve
one,
this.
motherfucker?
Yeah. That was low-hanging fruit.
Honk.
They didn't have a bunch of stuff to show. I think it was like mostly about like Last of Us 2 was the big thing. So they announced the trailer for the release date for Last of Us 2, which is Feb 21 next year. And they had a cool accompanying trailer for that.
I was a little put off by the trailer, I have to say.
Really?
Yeah, because I really hope I'm not right about this, but I think the trailer might have been a little too spoilery.
I am putting like trust in Naughty Dog that they are smarter than that, because
I so hope so.
Reading it at face value, it does seem very spoilery. I'm hoping there's a bait and switch of some kind.
Yeah. It brings me back to memories of how shocking the intro to the original game was, and to have that experience ruined for you would have been the worst thing ever. So
it would have. Yeah. I don't know. I hope that, like, in my mind I was even thinking like maybe they're taking a leaf out of like Marvel's book where they're just making up stuff for the trailer. Like I've got a feeling there could even be stuff in that trailer that's actually not in the game. It's just to kind of build hype maybe, but we'll have to wait until February to find out.
Hope so.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot else. There's a LA Noire, this VR LA Noire thing, which is interesting.
That's been out for a while, though. That's actually been available on PC since 2017.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah.
No, oh, wow. Oh, shit, that's really old then. Yeah, okay. There was one thing that I don't think was announced is Watam, which is a new game from the Katamari Damacy creator. I love Katamari, and this game looks bizarre. These like little weird fruit and flower and rectangular people just holding hands and playing and dancing around, and it looks super bizarre.
Strand game,
yeah. It also like reconnects people. I'm like, it's a Strand game.
The name of that game reminds me of a good joke. Do you want to hear it?
But
what does Bruce Lee like to drink?
Bruce P? I don't know.
What?
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I like that. Well done.
What do you like to drink?
What?
I missed it. What are?
Holy shit, Christian.
God.
Anyway, I appreciated it. Well done, Adrian. That was good.
Oh God, I didn't even realize
appreciated it.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. But yeah, that's. There's not much else to say about the state of play. It was really, really quite small. Civ 6, I guess that's a thing, and a limited edition Death Stranding PS4, but who cares about limited edition consoles?
Well, it doesn't have the baby floating in the controller, so I'm not interested, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the piss controller that is filled with just... Oh, God, that controller.
It's great. I love it.
Tell us more about Pissbabies, Matt.
Oh, yes, Pissbabies. So last week when I got sick, I actually spent 50 minutes of my day watching what was advertised as the Death Stranding trailer, gameplay trailer, 50 minutes long. Yeah, just 50-minute trailer. It wasn't actually a trailer. It was from TGS, and Hideo Kojima was basically just playing through it. When I watched it, it had no subtitles, so it was all in Japanese. And I have written here, it was all in Japanese, but I doubt if it was in English, I would have understood any better anyway. But yeah, so I actually have a ton of notes here, because having watched that trailer, I have a better understanding of what the game actually is now, and I can say definitively that Death Stranding is a walking simulator.
Mm-hmm.
It does seem to be.
It is actually a walking simulator.
Walking is
there's
the worst.
some action and stealth elements to it, but
I mean, like, literally, you can walk so much that your boots break, and you have to carry replacement boots with you to put on, so you don't just walk around barefoot. But yeah, so I have a list of dot points here. So you load yourself up with a whole bunch of goods. I think I actually said on the podcast months ago that's like pizza delivery guy simulator. That's actually not inaccurate. You are basically running around and delivering stuff to people. You replenish stamina with Monster Energy drink. It is a thing. The way you weigh your character down matters. So if you end up putting a whole bunch of weight on your left side, you'll drift to the left and have to like correct yourself to walk towards the right.
I
the
really
dream
like
for all
that.
gamers.
That's really cool. I like that a lot, actually.
Yep. There was a location that they entered where it popped up and said weapon usage restricted. So pretty clearly there's weapons in the game. Packages can take damage. You'll need to actually repair them. So like falling in the water and getting thrown downstream would actually damage packages. They kind of get rusty and such.
Wow, I wish FedEx would abide by those mechanics.
There was a point in which they turned in a whole bunch of packages and got a quest reward, and somebody shouted, "Harmonico!" And I'm like, what is... did you get like a harmonica? And then sure enough, he goes and pulls out a harmonica and starts playing it, and the baby starts rocking out. Yeah. You can see where other players have traveled through the area. So like you have like that big extendable ladder. If you use it, other players will be able to see it and make use of it. And it seems to actually be like one of the core mechanics of the game. So like these structures that you can put down are actually usable by other players, and you get like thumbs up from players for putting out useful things for them to use.
So hang on, the ladders are disposable then? You drop them and leave them, is that how it works?
Yep.
Ah.
That's exactly how it works. Yeah, so if you put a ladder down to cross a crevice, you'll end up getting a whole bunch of players going, "Thanks, like I didn't have a ladder with me. You know, here's a thumbs up." Even vehicles, like you could actually leave vehicles out for other players. So like, there was a whole sequence where the player character was sitting in this like hot tub like lake thing, and he was having a bath, but there was clearly another player there that he couldn't see, but he could hear them. And so they were singing together. Like there's a whole mechanic to actually sing with other players that you can't see.
It sounds so familiar. It's like whenever I have a bath, I experience the exact same thing.
I'm just thinking a little further about this. I'm wondering how long it's going to be before someone finds a big open stretch of land and then starts drawing penises out of ladders, like just lying on the ground.
It'll probably happen.
It's already happened in like preliminary testing. It's the first thing people did.
One of the things that I noticed really early in the actually, I was going to say trailer. It's not a trailer. It's a 50-minute video. Like, really early on, there's this bar that was slowly filling up over time to 1,000 milliliters, and I'm like, that's totally the piss bar. And never at any point in the 50 minutes where he's playing the game does he ever empty the fucking bar. So he must have been like really needing to go the whole time. So I'll quickly rattle off some of the other stuff. There's exosuit parts you can actually upgrade yourself with. So things that make you run around faster, give you like jumping distance and such. There are stealth mechanics. There's a bowler gun, so it kind of has like an aiming beam, sort of like oh god, the horror game. Shit, now I'm gonna look really bad.
Aiming beam?
Yeah, so it kind of like when you aim down sights, rather than having like a reticle, it has like this beam that kind of shows you where the bowler is actually going to hit.
Prey?
Not prey. Forget it. Anyway, like you basically aim at a guy's neck, and it. Yeah, Dead Space. Yeah, so Dead Space has like
had that.
Yeah, so you
the laser
aim,
cutter gun.
Like the laser cutter gun, exactly.
Yeah.
You could aim at somebody's head and take their head off. The bowler has that sort of thing where you aim around their legs and will bowler their legs. Yeah, hand-to-hand combat. You can use packages as melee and thrown weapons. There's vehicle hijacking. Big monster fights where you can actually get help from other players. But it looked really frustrating because all he could do to damage it was throw grenades, and he kept running out. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. We'll see how that gets balanced. But yeah, no, I'm actually, having seen that, I'm like, this is a really unique game, and I love how weird it is. But it's way less weird now, having watched that. So yeah,
I think the story elements will be what really makes it off the wall.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
The story is still fucking weird. I could not understand any of it.
Did you watch the briefing trailer as well?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, in English.
I watched it in English.
Yeah.
I think I had actually said on Twitter that basically it was written in such a way that it's a work of art, because it is like this narrative dump on the player that the player will still not understand.
Yeah. It's like it's all like the lore and the world building that makes no sense. I think like the core like mission of the game seems to be pretty straightforward. It's go from east to west across the United States, reconnecting all the kind of scattered elements of the country to restore the United States, I guess, for President America. Her name's actually Susan America or something.
Susan, like something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, like what's going on behind that with all like the BTs and the babies and the strands and everything, that still makes no fucking sense.
Yeah, and the world is massively open and empty. Like it's like all the civilization just kind of vanished.
But
It's
it
really
all looks
interesting.
like Ireland for some reason.
Yeah,
Like
it's United States.
Yeah, I'm worried that the landscape is all of that. It's just like those green mossy hills, like because that's all they've shown that I saw anyway.
So in the 50-minute video, there is a snowy area that they go into.
Oh, okay, all right.
And there's a big open, like, grey, ashy area. So there are other areas in there, but certainly it still feels like it's all just, like, retextured Ireland, right?
Okay, yeah, right.
It just shows they should have listened to Greta Thunberg when they had the chance.
That's right.
Yep. You know what makes no sense to me is the fact that when someone is out in the wild and disconnected from everything, that is in fact when they are stranded. Anyhow.
Okay, Luke.
Yeah.
I think that because Kojima goes on about how this is like a new genre, the Strand game, and like he's talking about these weird social elements about connecting people. But when I see that, it looks like an evolution of what happens with like the Dark Souls games, where players are like leaving notes on the ground that other people can read, and you can see I think I might have mentioned this on a previous podcast actually. You can like see the ghosts of other players running around. It's kind of like building on that kind of idea where it won't be this persistent MMO style multiplayer where everyone's actually running around, but you're just kind of influencing each other's games.
I'm very curious whether they've actually built in any sort of large-scale cleanup mechanic for this. Like if something gathers or builds up in a particular part of the game world which actually does disservice to the experience, will they have someone that actually goes in and removes it? That's what I'm wondering.
I don't think it's persistent, though. I think when you play the game, it'll be like a Souls game or like even like Journey where it's your own little kind of shard. And I think I imagine it'll only populate like a certain number of multiplayer elements based on, who's connecting to that same little server as you. And when you log in next time, it'll be completely different again.
Yes, yeah, so it's sort of instanced in a way.
Yeah.
It's not a big MMO. Like it's still a single player game. It's just pulling elements from other people's single player games, basically.
Yeah, strands, if you will.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm still going to play it. Did you come any closer to deciding whether it was a game for you or not, Matt? Or
I'm definitely playing it.
Okay, cool.
Like it looks. I was literally discussing this with another lecturer today about how there's not enough games out there that play around with action elements, and Death Stranding seems like a game that's more about walking around a world and then sometimes having action than it is an action game where you walk around the world.
Right.
So I'm interested in it for that reason alone. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, something completely off the beaten track and changing topic entirely. There's a really interesting news item that hit this week involving a long-running court case against Valve. So this has actually been happening overseas in the EU. So there was a ruling delivered which is actually based off like a 4-year-old suit against Steam, which has been by a French consumer group called, I'm going to fuck up this pronunciation, but I'm going to give it a go, UFC Cœur Croisière, which filed a suit against Steam 4 years ago alleging anti-consumer rights activities. And basically what they were trying to do is get Steam to basically allow consumers to resell digital games, okay? So because there's apparently some EU law at the moment regarding free movement of goods within the EU. And according to EU law, all goods, including software, can be sold used without the permission of the maker or the original seller. So that's kind of the basis of where all this came from. And it turns out that the court actually rejected Valve's defense that argued that Steam is a subscription service. And according to them, they found that Steam sells games in perpetuity and is not as part of a subscription package, which I tend to agree with personally. But so now we've got this really interesting case where Valve is obviously appealing this because this is super fucking bad for them. And they've got a bit of time to do so. But the courts basically said that they've got a certain amount of time to change their processes and their rules so that people can actually resell digital versions of games And the appeal process will slow that down and delay that, of course, and, pending the outcome of that. But I just thought that this is a really interesting news item because it prompts a few super interesting topics of discussion. One of which was that a part of this ruling also incorporated a policy that users of Steam would be able to cash out their Steam money that is in the client into real money at their discretion. So if you, for whatever reason, got a Steam credit allocated to your account, then you should be able to withdraw that as real money on demand whenever you wanted. And so digital goods notwithstanding, that's an entirely whole other thing where there's entire marketplaces in Steam revolving around trading of goods that can be cashed in for Steam currency that can only be spent on games within the platform. Like, look at the Dota 2 cosmetic market. That's a fucking gargantuan thing that, people, and some of the Counter-Strike stuff as well. Like, people spend ridiculous amounts of money on some of these items. And when they're sold back to the marketplace, often it's in terms of Steam currency. If people are then able to take that out of the platform, that's like a whole new ballpark. So, yeah, and when it comes to reselling of digital goods, there's like a massive implication for developers and publishers there as well. And
it's disastrous.
Yeah, it's just ridiculously bad. Like, consumers might think, hey, this is a good thing. I can, sell games that I'm not playing anymore or that I bought as part of a sale and then regretted the purchase later on. But I thought Matt in particular would be able to speak to some of the real ramifications to the professional side of the industry as to how this could really fuck things up for people. So, yeah.
Yeah. Put it this way. Indies already struggle to make money. If people can resell their games after playing them, indies will make even less money. And it will basically become a matter of like, unless there's some system in place where indies are getting a cut or all of the money from a resale, it would destroy the independent games industry. Like, it would literally mean that indies would not be able to launch on Steam in Europe. They would want to avoid that because otherwise their games are going to be bought and resold.
Here's the thing, though. This is setting a dangerous precedent because Steam wouldn't be the only one. Like, if this goes through and impacts Steam, you can bet that next it's going to be coming to the Epic Games Store. It's going to be coming to GOG. It's going to be coming to, PlayStation sort of online store, all of the others. It'll be a cascading effect hitting that part of the world. And then you just don't know how far it's going to go from there. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, like, what about, like, I feel like the courts haven't actually considered the potential ramifications of something like this.
No, obviously
Simply
not.
Because, like Google Play, Apple Store, like, all of these things where, like, I've bought the Star Wars movies on Google Play, right? I own them on Google Play. I can now resell them. Like, is this going to happen here? Because this isn't just games we're talking about anymore, right? Like, what happens if I, God forbid, pay for WinZip? Can I resell my copy of WinZip to somebody else now? Like, this has sweeping ramifications for, like, the entire global market, not just Steam.
Yeah.
And I think it's a terrible idea.
I think it's a terrible idea, and I think it's something that will never come to fruition in this, like, sense. Like, I don't think that the digital market has already matured past the point where this could be done retroactively. I think like it's too far gone, and I think it'll definitely be overturned on appeal. And there was an update to the story that you linked, Luke, which was, I don't know if you saw, that the Interactive Software Federation of Europe said that the French court ruling contradicts established EU law and should be overturned on appeal. Like, that's not the court saying it's going to be overturned, but there's definitely like groups that are, pointing out that it does apparently contradict established law. So I think it'll be overturned.
Fingers crossed, because that would be a mad, mad world. One of those be careful what you wish for moments, I think. So,
see, I'm so super pro consumer rights, but this is one of those things where it's like digital products are weird, and while I agree that people should be able to resell things they own, digital products are a strange beast in that situation.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm very pro-consumer too, of course, and I don't want this. No way.
Yeah, God, no. No, I don't.
Nope. Well, speaking of things that people don't want, Adrian!
I don't want Fallout 76. I don't want it. And I think most people, I can't speak on behalf of all people, but I would assume that most people don't want to inhale mold. Do you guys
Well,
feel
what
very
type of
strongly
mold?
one way or not. In
So like
Is it gonna get
sandwich
me high?
mold or like?
but let's hit the spores. How about some spores?
If I'm auditioning for a part in Last of Us Part 2, maybe. But no.
Well, in that case, you might want to track down one of the now probably rare Fallout 76 GameStop exclusive collectible helmets, which have been recalled from GameStop stores because inside the padding could contain dangerous mold, which is exactly what consumers want when they purchase something that they're going to put over their face and breathing apparatus. So these were a limited run collector's item that were a replica Fallout helmet. Originally, a greyish brown variant was released with the Fallout 76 collector's edition. So this is the people who purchased collector's edition and got this replica helmet with that edition don't have to worry. It was only the special variant that was sold exclusively in GameStop stores. And it is a red and white Nuka-Cola themed variant helmet. So apparently there were 32 units that needed to be recalled because they possibly had this particular mold inside them. So I feel bad for anyone that bought one that did have the mold and put it on and then, I don't know, couldn't see very well afterwards. Had to attribute it to a creeping virus that they inhaled. So yeah, not great news, but I suppose if you did buy a Fallout 76 collector's edition helmet, you probably deserve to get mold spores and die anyway. So
I agree.
yeah, it reminds me of Louis C.K.'s bit on peanut allergies, where like, sure, peanut allergies are terrible, but maybe if we just let it happen, we won't have peanut allergies anymore. So maybe it's like that. Maybe if we just let the Fallout 76 people have their mold helmets, we won't have to worry about them making another Fallout 76 because all the fans will be dead.
Jesus.
That's my news.
But yeah, just when you thought the Fallout 76 was old news, it turns out it's mold news.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
It's
They
good.
just can't catch a break.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Oh, God. All right. Well, that's a great one to finish on. Oh, all right. Well, I guess kind of circling back in theme a little bit to the Death Stranding stuff that Matt was talking about. You know, obviously central to everything that's been happening around Death Stranding has been like the mythos and the larger than life presence of Hideo Kojima. And, you know, that's been driving a lot of the sort of mysticism behind that game. And it kind of, you know, falls into theme with what we're going to chat about tonight. So tonight we want to talk about, you know, big games industry personalities. So, you know, some of these people that are not necessarily always developers or, you know, heads of games companies or anything like that. That can be involved in lots of different aspects of the industry at large. But, you know, we've got throughout the industry some really interesting sort of just larger than life personalities that, you know, become kind of celebrities in their own right, you know, amongst, you know, the industry and have done for many, many years. And, you know, each year it seems like we've got a different mix of them sort of coming to the fore. And recent years, of course, we've seen the rise of influencers kind of, you know, being part of the stage in this regard as well. And people that are, you know, making ridiculous amounts of money, sort of finding this kind of success. And, you know, then all of a sudden people notice when they get it off Twitch and start up on Mixer and shit like that. So it becomes like...
Are we talking about Matt?
No.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Oh.
No. But
I'm not larger than life. I'm just fat.
Oh,
you're living
I
large.
didn't mean it like that. I would say cuddly. That's how I would
Oh,
put it.
thank you, Adrian.
Absolutely. Crush you.
I'll see you
and
after the
your-
podcast, bud.
Yay. I regret what I said.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, what do you guys think about this? Do you think it's important to actually have some of these individuals to kind of, you know, draw attention to the industry in more of a characterized fashion? Do you think it's a good thing, or do you think it's a bad thing? Like, should we not have any of these kind of, you know, celebrity type cases at the expense of maybe some of the people behind the scenes that are actually getting a lot of the work done? Because, one of the things that really sort of kicked this off during the week was as it turned out, quite mistranslated tweet from Kojima. Sort of talking about why a game gets labelled as a Hideo Kojima game, and you know, he was sort of, the tweet originally said, it's because I do this and I do this and I work on this and I work on this. And it came across as being quite egocentric when in actual fact it had been sort of mistranslated, and he was more trying to get across the point that, he had given everything his stamp and he took great care in being involved in things as opposed to trying to grab all the credit. It was a weird situation, but yeah. I don't know. What do you think in general? Are there people that maybe we have way too much praise for where we shouldn't? We should be sort of giving more praise to their teams, or I don't know. Where do you land on that?
There's a lot to unpack there, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. I think we've got to be honest. Like, it's a mixed bag, right?
Of course.
Like, there's always going to be those positives. You have personalities like Suda51. I don't think I've ever actually played a Suda51 game, but I follow him on Twitter because he's fucking hilarious. And like just such a character, right? And like creators like Sid Meier, right? Whose name is basically branding now for games. And these people draw attention to the process and make things transparent. But the downside of everything good about them existing and taking the spotlight is the fact that they take the spotlight, right?
Yeah.
And like there's this the feeling that I have with a lot of gamers, they don't actually know how games are made. And so, if Hideo Kojima was taken off of Death Stranding right now, everybody would be saying Death Stranding's a dead game, right? Because it would be considered that he would be the one essentially making the game what it is, rather than the team working on it. So it may have less of his stamp on it, but without him, they can still make the game.
We had a weird similar case during the week where it was revealed that, Christian, correct me if I get the name wrong, Ikuri Nakamura, the Japanese lady who was on stage during the last E3 doing the presentation for Ghostwire Tokyo. So she became like a bit of an industry darling through, the huge amount of media surrounding that presentation and how she sort of, carried herself on stage. And when it was revealed that she was leaving the studio making that game, then a lot of people sort of suddenly lost interest in the game as a result. And I was like, wow, that's a weird flex. So, yeah.
Like I think that it's completely natural for people to be drawn to personalities in anything in life. Like, people like artists and they like celebrities, and I compare it to a lot of other mediums like film, where people quite often, they know the director of a movie, they'll know the cast of the movie, and then maybe some people will know the writers, maybe some people will know the like producers, but then no one really knows. And like the camera people, the grips, the dolly operators, they don't really get attention. They're the ones actually hands-on making the movie. But they don't have a personality and like a celebrity status attached to them. And I think that, they like actual, game coders and game developers, programmers, they are the ones doing the punching the 9 to 5 and doing the work. And they of course need to be like praised for that and, paid appropriately and everything like that. But they can't all get the same attention as the kind of creative directors or like the leads on these projects. And I think that is natural. And as long as people aren't attracted to like toxic like celebrities or like toxic icons, or they aren't imbuing them with, more than they rightly deserve, then it's fine. And yeah, there are definitely people who go too far with the kind of hero worship of some gaming personalities. Absolutely. But I don't think that's unfortunately ever going to stop. And I don't think it represents how most people like just fairly enjoy these personalities.
Yeah.
Do you think it's changed much in recent years? Like it seems more than ever.
Definitely.
We've got like more of a culture around some of these big names. Because I remember when I was a kid sort of getting into games, and this is probably a product of being a younger person as well. Like I never bothered to learn the names of many of the key individuals involved in the industry.
Well, what games were you playing in the 40s, Luke?
Well, motherfucker. Nintendo is older than I am. I'll just point that out. It had its 130th birthday this year.
Yeah.
So let's set the bar like that. Anyway, so I don't know.
I mean, yeah, but like it's absolute. It's undeniably changed. Like the internet and social media have changed it completely. Like now you can tweet at Hideki Kamiya and get blocked and he'll call you an insect. And when Beautiful Joe was made, I don't know who Hideki Kamiya was. And like, I think that social media has a huge part in that. And also just the proliferation of like other media about games, like YouTube videos and like the Game Awards and E3, these things that you know, E3's been around since the mid-90s, but it's evolved a lot, and these people have come more to the forefront, I think.
Yeah, we're putting them on more stages than we ever have because there is a stage to actually put them on where there wasn't one in years before. Yeah, which is interesting.
Absolutely, yeah. But it's also for like, even for indies, right? Like Jacob Janerka used this to great effect in all of the advertising for his game, right? When he did Paradigm. Because in all of his advertising, he appeared in the Paradigm trailers and such as this ridiculous fucking character, and just hammed it up in a really big way. And now so he's got a personal brand as a result of that, right? And I think that's the key thing about all of these creatives that end out in the spotlight is that they are branding in a way. Like them being on a project basically says that if you liked this previous thing that I worked on, you're going to like this because it has my hands all over it.
Yeah. I think a really good example of that in recent years was Josef Fares, the guy who was the designer behind Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, who started up Hazelight Studios and released that Prison Breakout game. I forget the name of it.
What was that called?
Yeah.
I want to say Prison Break, but it's not Prison Break.
No, it wasn't.
Left Behind? Left Behind? No? No, what was it called? Damn.
It's on the tip of my tongue. I actually can't remember.
Anyway, keep talking. I'll look it up.
The co-op game. Yeah. We absolutely know what we're talking about. But so obviously his sort of, big moment in the spotlight was when he was up on stage during the Game Awards a few years back. And
Way Out.
Way Out, that's it, yeah. And he absolutely just, like, through his passion and over-the-top sort of character and persona, like, he just went fucking apeshit and started ragging on the Oscars and, like, just became famous within the industry because of that. And, like, it looked, like, on the surface like a bit of a drunk / kind of, toxic media moment. But what it actually was taken at, like, face value by a lot of people was just, like, raw passion sort of coming through in the weirdest way possible. And people kind of loved him for it. So, and then people played his games and, like, his studio and himself became sort of more notorious as a result of it in, I think, a really good way for his brand. So, so much so that people were really sort of keen to see him back again on stage the following year, even though he didn't have any game to announce. So,
he definitely stole that moment and developed a personal brand around it for sure.
Yeah, so that kind of stuff's super interesting, and
it can happen for the worse with, unfortunately, with people like Sean Murray, who with No Man's Sky, like being the spokesperson for No Man's Sky, getting up on stage and doing interviews. I think he was even on like late night talk shows promoting it. And then when that game's released, was so unpopular, he personally, bore the brunt of that. Whereas if it was a situation where he wasn't a personality leading that, he might have felt a bit like more protected and shielded from that avalanche of criticism. So it can come back to bite people too.
Yeah, for sure. And we've got this weird thing these days too, like where it's certainly not a new thing that celebrities from other industries have turned up in video games. I mean, it's been happening for a while. And Christian, you mentioned before, what was it, Queen Latifah that had done some voice acting for Sayonara Wild Hearts, which is, like, again, just super random. And we've had Kevin Spacey in Call of Duty stuff before. Many other recognizable actors turning up, mocapped in various different games, and it just seems like in this last sort of 2 years more than ever, there are just, like, celebrities coming out of the woodwork from film and TV, like, appearing in video games more often than we've ever seen them before. But it almost feels like sometimes, like, them within this industry are almost as big as some of the other existing names in this industry in terms of their fame. So, you certainly pay attention when, Shigeru Miyamoto's up on stage because, oh shit, something's going on that's really, really interesting. Nintendo's got something to say. So, you have a moment like that, and then you have a, Keanu Reeves moment on stage at E3, and both of them seem to be quite equally important for different reasons in the context of that. So, I don't know, it's quite interesting.
It sells games.
Yeah.
Right. Like celebrities, for the most part, just marketing tools.
I mean, so Destiny, right? Like Peter Dinklage goes and plays the Ghost and literally kills it. By which I mean his performance was so bad he killed Ghost.
Yep.
But like the whole reason he was in that game, I guarantee it'll be because some Activision bigwig was like, wouldn't it be great if we had all of these recognizable actors in this game so that we get like all of these chumps that pay attention to actors to buy the game, right?
It's the like same reason that they dragged Paul McCartney out of his coffin to record that terrible song for Destiny.
That's
I
exactly
don't know if
right.
people like listeners remember that, but yeah, freaking Paul McCartney did a song for Destiny 1. It's really bizarre.
I don't even remember.
Bungie
that.
remembers because they actually put it in the game. In Destiny 2, there's actually a location where you can listen to it. And it's just like a hidden area. Like they have a meme about it. Like they've owned the fact that it's a really dumb song. But yeah, like shit like that. It's literally just a marketing tool. So even when you have somebody in your studio that becomes like a figurehead, that's still just a marketing tool, right? And you don't become a figurehead without some popularity already, and something interesting to talk about. And then, you know, it becomes studio branding for as long as that person's there.
Yeah.
I think that that's mostly true. Like I can like, and I think that it's not always necessarily the origin of the people's fame, though. I don't think that's what you're saying, is it, Matt? Like people can become famous, like for non-marketing reasons,
Absolutely.
but then they do after that usually become part of the marketing, like whether it's intentional or not. So yeah. So oh God, what was his name? From back in when Bungie was working on Halo, they had a guy that was basically just like the community manager. And he worked on these little comics. So whenever Bungie did a news post, it would always have a Mr. Chef or Mr. Chief comic in there, which is basically this dumb fucking comic that the HR, the person doing these blog posts kind of put together. I can't remember his name, but he is now like one of the head people at 343 because he's a recognizable name that was attached to the Halo franchise. So Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Adrian, do you think you've ever been sort of motivated or influenced by like a big video game personality to take more of an interest in a game or to purchase it?
I know the answer.
I don't know a single name you guys have said. I don't know. I'm just sitting here, like, looking at other shit on the internet because I have no idea what the fuck this conversation is about.
So,
Yeah.
I have so little engagement when it comes to the like celebrity side video games that like they have zero influence on me at all. Like, and Hideo Kojima is maybe the only one that I recognize, only because we've been talking about him specifically, and I know that he's from Metal Gear Solid, but I don't like what's the one who made like those like first person shooters, the one with the girl behind the waterfall. What's his name?
John Romero.
John Romero. Like I know that name, but if you said to me John Romero, I'd be like, oh yeah, that's the guy that owns Spudshed. Like I don't know who any of these people are. So for me, they have little to no impact.
It's a good note, though, because, I mean, what we need to remember throughout this discussion is that, Adrian, you actually definitely represent a segment of the market here that is not influenced by this at all. And
I feel like that comes up a lot. I
Yeah.
feel like that's my place on the podcast, is like, Adrian's that guy that doesn't shut up. He also knows nothing.
No, it's not about that. It's about the fact that like we often get caught up in a lot of the sort of big names and the personalities in the industry.
Yeah.
And we forget that there's a fuckload of people out there that just don't give a shit about this. So
Way more than there are who do give a shit about it.
Absolutely,
I'd say.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, from my perspective, I think when I think of Hideo Kojima, he makes like in my mind, I think like Lady Gaga, where like I don't know anything about him, but he seems fascinating. So I am inclined to play Death Stranding because, like, at least if I play a game that has his stamp on it, it's bound to be interesting. Or I could play Gears of War 20 and like Rage 9 and get more of the same shit. So, like in that respect, I'm engaged with his personality. If it's going to like make a colourful, engaging video game, then yeah. But I have no knowledge of what he's like.
I've never
I have no
heard
clue as to like how he engages with people, Well, like, I kind of like the idea that he will just fucking block people. Is it him? No, who was
That's Kamiya. That's a different guy.
Kamiya? Yeah, I don't know who that guy is, but I like the idea that he's like a bit of a badass and just like treats people like shit. I'm like, yeah, why not? Like, you know, anything to like inject a bit of color into what I feel is, you know, an increasingly kind of what's the right word, like corporatized, monetized system. Like, I like the idea of like rogue agents that, you know, where their personalities are larger than life, and you know, we get to experience some of their content that they, you know, create because they're at the head of a studio. That sounds fun to me, if nothing else.
Taking the attention off the corporate nature of the industry, I think, is a big benefit to this as a whole, actually.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like, well, you touched on something that's actually really useful there as well, Adrian. Like, every single game will have its own Hideo Kojima, right? Like, you say Rage 9, but, you know, there's probably a designer on there from the original Rage that worked on Rage 2 and was one of the figureheads for talking about Rage 2 and why Rage fans should care about it. Because those fans will probably recognize his face and be like, oh, like, he's working on it, then it's probably going to be good because I enjoyed the original Rage. I don't know why you would, but there's people that enjoy that.
I hear it was all the rage.
And there's the same people inhaling mold spores. I love my mold.
I have a one person that I think is a really good example. Amy Hennig, right?
Yeah.
So she wrote all of the Uncharted games. Nobody knew she wrote the Uncharted games until she was fucking fired. Like, nobody gave a crap about Amy Hennig. No offense to Amy Hennig, because she's a fucking great writer. Exactly, right? Nobody cared that she was taken off of Naughty Dog until she was gone.
Well, nowhere near as many people.
Yeah, and it's fascinating in that respect, right? Because it's like you kind of realize game developers are this faceless thing where they don't really matter until they're gone, right? And I think we're going to see a lot of that. Like, Telltale's a good example, right? There's no developers out of Telltale that Telltale was going to miss in terms of like that PR person, right?
Yeah, true.
There was nobody at the front that was kind of representing that. And so when it's like Telltale's coming back, everybody gets excited because the developers behind it were faceless. And so it's the corporation now. It's this entity, but it's going to have completely different guts to it. And that's the stuff that matters.
What you're saying holds true for Kojima as well, because, you know, he was famous before for Metal Gear, but his fame and notoriety skyrocketed after the debacle where Konami axed him. So, yeah, that's what's led to where we are now.
I do think that there are some differences between projects as far as like how much creative control is placed in how few hands.
Yeah.
Like, and how clear the vision is, but over time and over people. Like, to take an extreme example on the opposite end to the kind of more auteur style is something like Anthem, which is, you know, definitely a game that I feel is fair to say was more designed by committee. You know, there are stories of, you know, prototypes and like alphas being demoed, and then, you know, an executive would have some feedback, you know, why can't I do this? Why can't I do that? And then they kind of majorly change the game up based on that very few people in the team actually had any real idea what they were making. Like, people's would work for months, and then that all the effort they'd put in meant nothing because another department had decided to go in a completely different direction, and they had no clue what they were doing. Like,
the funny thing is, in the case of Anthem, though, BioWare actually attempted to instill some public confidence back into the game as a result of a lot of the stuff going on behind the scenes by bringing back Casey Hudson, who was one of the lead developers on the Mass Effect series and was a known name, to attach him to Anthem again. And if it wasn't for that fact, I think that they wouldn't have done nearly as well with their initial sales of the product as well. So,
but even then, they're attaching somebody into an existing project. It's not a project that Casey Hudson. It's not his mind baby. You know,
no, it's his brand they're attaching to it. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. But there are games that, even though like Hideo Kojima games, where even though he isn't doing the programming, I feel like he is having more creative control over that as an individual than perhaps other like larger studios, or, you know, other studios structured differently to that. So
yeah, like every studio needs a lead, right? Like, it needs a design lead to make core decisions about what the game is, like the person that holds a vision. Because like you're exactly right. Like the thing that Anthem suffered from was there was nobody there that wanted to make those decisions. There was nobody there that knew what Anthem was. And so on one end of the spectrum, you have the auteur, which is basically like one person making all of the decisions about how the game's going to be made, not necessarily making it, just making decisions about it. And that can go bad as well. Like you have Peter Molyneux, right? Like,
Oh yeah.
He's an auteur. He made all the decisions in some of his games.
Was.
and yeah, now look what happened, right? And that could quite easily happen to any auteur. Like Death Stranding could end up being like Hideo Kojima's like Peter Molyneux moment, right?
Yeah.
Where everything just fucking falls apart. God forbid. I hope that doesn't happen. But like, you need, when it comes to team balance, this is getting to the dev side of things, you need that person to make decisions, but you also need the team to be listened to. And the impression I get from Kojima is that he listens to his team, because one man doesn't make brilliant games. It'll be, good people giving him advice and guidance. I mean, if you do the opposite and it's like, this was all me, that's how you get the fucking Star Wars prequels.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, I want to draw another analogy to film to like elaborate on what I was saying a bit as well, where you can tell the difference between a movie like a Quentin Tarantino movie. I think that Quentin Tarantino is very similar to Kojima in a lot of ways, where he has a lot of creative control over his projects. They're his movies, and I think, and the Kojima games are very much his games, compared to, say, the third Hunger Games movie, where the studio knows that they want to make that movie, so they go looking for a director to take the lead on that. There is still a central director, and they're putting in a lot of good effort, and they're putting their own like love and flavor into that movie. But it is different to that personality driven style of things.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an illusion. I don't think anyone here is arguing that's an illusion, but I see that sentiment sometimes on Twitter that it is the man behind the curtain sort of thing. But that's not. Yeah.
Oh, totally.
It's almost like I find it super fascinating, because I mentioned Star Wars and I'm sitting here thinking about it. Star Wars, you can see every side of the spectrum in what happens when you have an auteur and what happens when you have a series of movies made by committee, right?
Yeah.
So the prequels are what happens when you have just an auteur in charge with nobody able to influence their decision making, and then the sequels are what happens when it's done by committee. Whereas the original movies are what happens when it's done by a team, right? With a talented person at the lead that's making decisions but taking advice of their peers.
A lot of people don't even know that George Lucas didn't direct Empire or Return of the Jedi. He only directed A New Hope.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
I like the prequels.
That's perfectly valid.
It is perfectly valid. You're wrong, but it's valid.
So when it comes to us, like, do we as a group have any particular names in the industry that we quite like enjoy seeing in the big name space that maybe aren't sort of developers themselves or heads of companies, but maybe people in the media as well, and any of those other sorts of names? Like, who do you kind of enjoy looking to when it comes to sort of the industry celebrities? Do you have any kind of top names for yourselves? What do you think? I know, Christian, you've got a few that are a bit different.
Yeah. But I'll let someone else go first.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll mention one.
Yeah.
Oh, go on, Adrian.
I don't know. I was going to make a joke, but I couldn't even think of that because I don't have any. Yeah, I can't think of anyone or anything.
Yeah, so I wanted to make an interesting example of Rami Ismail from Vlambeer.
Yeah.
Where he's not really like, in terms of like public facing game developers, most of the public's not going to care about Rami. Like, I can't remember if it's Rami or Rami.
Ramen.
But ramen. But in the game dev community, he's massively popular. He's massively recognizable. He's not an auteur. Like, he's basically just like a half of Vlambeer. But he's just a super cool guy that interacts with everybody and helps people out. And so, people look up to him, and he has a massive Twitter following.
Feel bad for the other half of Vlambeer.
The other half of Vlambeer has gone out and done some really cool stuff, like Minute. So.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
I've got a few. Mine tend to sort of step more into the media side of the space, I think. for me personally, because I spent a lot of time sort of absorbing the wider culture around the industry. And I know one in particular that I am actually very fond of, I suspect that Christian is not. So that's an interesting comparison. So...
Okay, is it Greg Miller?
No, well, I actually am quite fond of Greg Miller for other reasons, but he probably wouldn't be one of my top picks. But I think that he's an example of someone in the industry that has gone through quite a transitory period as well, where in the early days he was very young and very much like an IGN kind of a lot less. A lot more faceless in terms of the host that they had, and like he was kind of just one of that crew that sort of did what IGN does, sort of thing. But he's really kind of gone out and established his own identity, and he's got a pretty solid team that's helped to elevate him to a piece of the spotlight within the industry too. And he very clearly is passionate about what he does, and games are his life, and he's kind of made it his brand, and he's a very sort of positive, energetic figure too. So I definitely respect the hell out of him for that. I think that's really cool. His style of humor and his brand of entertainment may not be your personal taste, but I don't think you can deny that he's been extremely successful at what he's done. So,
of course not. No.
Yeah. And I mean, by similar token, I was going to say, Jeff Gerstmann from Giant Bomb as well is another one that I'm very fond of. But he's a similar case to Greg Miller, where he's got like a particular style. And if you're not a fan of that style, then you wouldn't be quite as connected in that way to his sort of brand of humor and style of content. But the one that I actually really like a lot, and Christian, you may be surprised by this, it is one that I feel has reinvented himself considerably in the last decade, and that's actually Jeff Keighley.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of Jeff's, but I do admire him. I genuinely admire him. I just don't enjoy his personality. I don't find engaging. I don't find him entertaining to watch. I don't find him particularly insightful to listen to. But I really do admire the work he's done. But I have no negative feelings towards him, really.
No, I get where you sort of land in that regard. Like, he's not sort of the most entertaining person in the room, but I think that what he has put himself into the position to do as a presenter, I think he's quite serviceable for the most part. Like, he's not going to get up on stage and crack jokes and get everybody sort of laughing and clapping along with him, but I think he is the ultimate enabler when it comes to actually giving a platform in the industry to other people, particularly creators, and trying to bring people together. And what he's done by taking sort of the VGAs and making them into the Game Awards, and the presence that he's had at a lot of the other big shows throughout the year, like Gamescom and E3, I think what he's succeeded in doing, I think, is absolutely admirable. And I actually do admire the shit out of him. I think he's fantastic what he's been able to do in the last few years. So yeah.
Look, I'll say this, and this is more of an insider thing for people who know us more personally. But Jeff Keighley to me, Luke, is like you in a way, where what you did with West Gamer and the old tabletop gaming forum that you ran and the tournaments that you ran, I could see you kind of reaching for a similar thing that Jeff Keighley's done, of a kind of creating space for a community and supporting the community by being an organizer.
Yeah.
And so I can see kind of similarities there.
Being you wanting to be part of something, but knowing that you don't necessarily need to kind of be the face of every aspect of it, sort of thing. So yeah. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I think there's definitely a place to sort of admire the work of people like that as well. So yeah. Well, what about you, Christian? You got some interesting.
I wanted to talk about Yoko Taro. So Yoko Taro is the sort of the creative lead and director of the Drakengard games, which I've never played, and Nier 1, which I've never played, and Nier Automata, which I played and loved, and it's one of my favorite games of all time.
Can confirm you've platinumed it.
Yes. But he, as a personality, I find super interesting and hilarious. So a lot of the people I like because I find them funny and in a genuine way, not in like a fake way. And Yoko Taro is a really quirky guy. Whenever he does interviews, he always wears this like bulbous Emil head, which is like one of the characters from his games, like this big, almost like a moon he wears on his head with this giant creepy smile. But he always just has really funny things to say. He's got a very like cynical point of view that I think would, like Adrian, I think you'd like. I have a couple of quotes from him that I just want to read, because I think that's probably the best way of expressing his personality is his own words. So he said, Nier Automata, which released in 2017, became a hit and I got plenty of work because of its aftermath, but that won't last forever. Therefore, I believe my downfall will start around 2019, and since it would be lonely to die alone, I'm going to try taking down as many people with me. Like, It's super negative, but based on what like the rest of his personality, he clearly is just like messing around, and it's hilarious. He says really nice stuff too. Like there's been a couple of times where people have asked him like, do you have a PayPal or a Patreon or some way I can support you? And he always turns around and like, one thing that he said was in response to somebody saying like saying that they want to buy 5 copies of Nier, he said, "Thank you, I appreciate that, but I think one game would be enough. How about using the rest of the money to buy flowers for your parents, or maybe donate it to poor kids that are unable to go to school in conflict/war?"
Huh.
So like really nice stuff like that. Yeah. And there was another one where he said, someone asked him for a Patreon. He said, "Thank you, but I'm a very rich man who can eat ramen noodles every day. Every day." I mean that you can donate to UNICEF or ICRC or MSF or any other charity company. I think doing this is suitable for new beginning, isn't it? Anyway, Happy New Year.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
So, yeah. And then there's one more that I want to read, and I know that I've been reading a lot of Yoko Taro quotes, but I love the guy. And it's something that he said which was kind of supportive of the LGBT community, which frankly for Japanese developers is rare to find. Not that many of them are bigoted, but it's not something that's discussed much, I find, in the Japanese community. And somebody asked him, he has a lot of sort of queer or LGBT characters in his game sometimes, and someone said, why do you have so many people with unusual sexual orientations in your games? And he said, how would you define unusual is the question. If we look around, we can definitely see homosexuals. Few in number they may be. I'm just trying to say people like that exist. It's simply the way the world works. They're labeled with normal, unusual, and compared quite often. But the difference between people with certain sexual preferences lies purely in number. Some are quite abundant, some are not. But we're all in the same world. I never intended for them to appear as special. So I really, really like that attitude of he's saying like he's just putting them in there because they exist.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Trying to represent like a slice of the world, really.
Yeah. He's not like pushing an agenda, even though I would support that too. But he's just doing it because it just seems natural to him. So
yep,
I really admire his robot representation. Like
yes.
I enjoy that he's
I
feel like they get underrepresented a lot in society.
It was actually Yoko Taro I was meaning to talk about when I mentioned Suda51 earlier. I got the two of them mixed up.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I follow Yoko on Twitter because he's fucking hilarious, like you've pointed out.
Yeah. And then the other person I wanted to mention was Kamiya, just because he is a badass and he is a rogue and like a rapscallion, and he does like laying the smackdown on people on Twitter. But he doesn't seem to have a huge like ego. He never gets really cruel. He just is a bit of a rebel. And like he's someone once asked him if he read a Kotaku article that was like saying something bad about one of the games he read, and his response to that was just, "Do you eat shit?" Just that's it. And then another tweet of his, he said, "Excuse me, tiny insects, but you don't have to tell me that you blocked me. Might be a great historical event for you, but for me, it's nothing." I like that kind of like holier than thou, but tongue-in-cheek attitude that he has.
Yeah.
That's incredible. I like that. Yeah. So, I mean, the entertainment that these people provide, I think, is definitely part of it. So some of the ones that are a bit more edgy and a bit more sort of out there, it gives a bit more of that than maybe some of the developers that are famous for the quality of their work. It's a whole different reason to kind of be, attached to following them for those reasons.
Yeah. And these are the people that I like. I like people who they seem like genuinely funny and interesting people, and I admire their work too. They create things that I like, and that to me says something about their personality. If they're into, awesome action games that I love, if that's what they love, then that's something in common, and I can see that shining through in their personality. So that's why I follow them.
Yeah, totally fair. Nice. All right. Well, it pretty much brings us to the end of our main topic tonight. But on the subject of cool games that people like, Christian and Adrian, your plans for next week. We've been looking forward to it. So what is going on with your stream game this month?
Yeah, we're going to be streaming Dead Space 3. So that's going to be next Tuesday. That's the 1st of October.
Yep.
We'll specify the exact time over social media. It'll be sometime, I imagine, around 7 or 8 p.m. Western Australian time, but we'll nail down a time. But yeah, it's going to be next Tuesday on twitch.tv/partyloaded, and everyone's invited to come and join and watch us play through Dead Space 3. It will be the first time for both of us. I think, Adrian, you haven't played it before?
Yeah, I have fiddled with the menu, and that's it.
Right,
That's
yeah. We'll make sure it's all, running properly and everything beforehand, but it'll be the first time that we actually start going through the game, and then we're going to share our thoughts in detail on the next week's episode. But yeah, come along to twitch.tv/partyloaded on Tuesday, the 1st of October.
Awesome. And you'll have a couple of asshole geese in the sort of chat watching and commentating along in the form of Matt and I. So
Honk.
Yeah.
It's funny, that's exactly how I think of you two.
Yep. Yeah, you'll be turning a corner and, the atmosphere will be thick in the air and it'll be really sort of tense and scary. And then all of a sudden, honk! We'll see how you go with that.
I mean, I think of Matt as a goose. I think Luca's more as a pheasant because that's what they used to serve in medieval times.
Nice burn. I love it.
Yeah, excellent. I'll take it. All right, well, cool. So that's coming up real soon. So make sure you check that out. And time's up on socials, as Christian mentioned. We'll get that happening. And I think we'll probably put some sort of maybe a slightly condensed VOD version of that up later for people who miss out on the stream. But you want to get the full package, come and check out the stream. That's what we want you to do. Enjoy for good times and much hilarity, I'm sure. And apart from that, you can get hold of us at all of the usual places. So mail@partyloaded.com. Check us out on Twitter @PartyLoadedShow. Facebook, you can just find us listed under Party Loaded. And Christian already mentioned you can see us on Twitch at twitch.tv/partyloaded. And the rest of the links you can find at our main hub at channelendgame.com. That is that. So, we've got a busy month coming up. We've got a lot of shit happening in the near future. So next week's episode will be, as per Christian's mention, we'll be chatting a bit about Dead Space 3 as well as other fun stuff in the world of games. The week after that, we're not going to be posting a regular episode because half of us at least, are going to be out of the state at Melbourne International Games Week and PAX. So Matt and I are heading over for that. We've both got different sort of things we're hitting up during the week. Mac's doing a talk at GCAP. I'm doing a panel on the Saturday evening at PAX, and we're doing a combined show with some of our Pixel Sift friends on the Sunday morning as well. So check out details of all of that on our socials. But we'll be seeing lots of fun stuff and testing out lots of cool games. What are you sort of most looking forward to doing game-wise at PAX, Matt? Is there anything you got your eye on that you know is going to be there?
Yeah, I hate the fact that I'm going to have to put down Shadowkeep so much, I'll probably end up paying a whole bunch of Destiny 2 at PAX.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bungie's actually going to be there, so we'll get to attend one of their panels at least and hopefully some other Destiny-related events. But word on the street is that Doom Eternal is going to be completely playable at the event too, so might get a bit of an advanced play of that. I'm looking forward to checking it out. And maybe some Cyberpunk 2077 as well. We will see.
Yeah. I'm definitely keen on seeing some more of that.
Yeah, so it'll be good. But the plan that week is we might release a little bit of content. It won't be the usual episode, but then we'll be back the following week on usual schedule from there. But we'll keep you all updated as per the socials in the weeks to come anyway. But yeah, gaming-wise, looking forward to Shadowkeep next week. Matt, I'm sure you're going to be jumping on playing a bit of that.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Christian, Adrian, what do you got on? Matt?
Horizon. I'll probably have full thoughts on Horizon Zero Dawn next week.
Nice. I look forward to that. And,
yeah, likely Shadowkeep as well.
Yeah!
Although, I have to do a little bit of investigating because I don't know anything about the plot of Destiny 2. I've played shitloads of it, but I don't really understand it. There's some really good videos online that I recommend people, if you just do like Destiny history video, like you can usually find video essays on stuff like that. So
there's some great channels.
I did find one and I was like, oh cool, this will catch me up. It was like an hour long, and then I realized it was just about Destiny 1. I was like, oh shit, now I gotta watch another one. So
I don't know how much of the history for Shadowkeep you really need to know. I think the most important thing you just need to be prepared going in is Moon's haunted, yo. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So,
a lot of the impression I get is that Shadowkeep is about a lot of those past battles that we fought. So it could actually be a history lesson for you.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. There we go.
It's entirely true. We'll find out in a week's time. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to next week's show. Looking forward to a bunch of things. But in the meantime, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you've enjoyed. We'll chat to you again next week. But for now, that's good night.
Good night.
Night, gang.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.